Welcome back, true believers and all you spectacular Spidey fans, to another very exciting episode of Marvel's Spider-Man 2 101. However, this may not be the 101 video that you were all expecting, where, in case you somehow missed the announcement, is that I was one of the few lucky individuals out there who was invited directly by PlayStation and flown out all the way to Los Angeles to experience a once-in-a-lifetime preview event for Marvel's Spider-Man 2. And yes, indeed, I am able to fully confirm right here and now that I was able to actually play Marvel's Spider-Man 2. But just to clarify is that this video isn't going to be discussing anything about that. So if you do want to hear about all of my hands-on impressions for Marvel's Spider-Man 2, then definitely make sure to stay tuned for tomorrow morning on Friday, September 15th at 8 AM Pacific Standard Time to completely hear all of my overall thoughts and hands-on impressions about what I was able to experience. But again, I just wanted to say an unbelievable thank you to the incredibly kind folks over at PlayStation and Insomniac Games for going out of their way to invite me to this absolutely out-of-this-world event. But primarily, I wanted to say a huge thank you to all of you for actually giving me this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Without every single one of you, the journey that I'm on right now wouldn't even be possible. And I can't even begin to thank you enough for giving me this chance. So if you're beyond hype for a boatload of Marvel Spider-Man 2 content coming your way, then definitely be sure to flip that like button and subscribe to the channel for any major Marvel Spider-Man 2 news and updates. But for today's video, I actually wanted to break down a brand new article that we received about Marvel Spider-Man 2, which funny enough was actually posted before the preview event took place. Where coming directly from Inverse.com, they went on to fully interview both Brian Intihar and Ryan Smith, who, as you should all know of at this point, are respectively the creative director and game director of Marvel's Spider-Man 2, where they went on to quote Brian Intihar himself by stating that they say anybody can wear the mask, but we want anybody to wear the mask and be good at wearing the mask at the same time, where they go on to iterate that Spider-Man 2 is the quote-unquote ultimate fantasy for superhero fans. Now, I'm not going to read through the entirety of this article, considering that it does dive deeper into the wider gaming industry as a whole, but for the case of this video, I'm primarily going to highlight all the major statements that come from the article discussing Marvel's Spider-Man 2, which, just to clarify, are all coming straight from the mouths of Inverse.com and not me specifically talking about what I was able to experience during this event. Where, as Inverse describes, is that with the help of the ooey gooey alien Symbiote, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, out October 20th from Insomniac Games, sees Peter and Miles Morales team up to take down a host of baddies. Only this time around, Peter is different. The symbiote bonds to him, making Peter stronger than ever, while dramatically altering his personality. His abilities shift from the thwip of a friendly neighborhood web slinger to the tentacular belches of a deep-sea squid. And coming straight from the mouth of the game director of Marvel Spider-Man 2 himself, of Ryan Smith, he states that in combat, how Peter's able to leverage those symbiote abilities is really about the transformation. He isn't just leading with a fist. He's got tentacles, and you can stick enemies to the wall, and you can grab a group of enemies and launch them. It's an opportunity for putting power out into the gameplay space a little bit differently than we would have done before, by interacting with more enemies, which really goes on to tease just how differently the symbiote is going to operate in comparison to Peter's standard red and blue suit, similar to what we've already seen in previous Spider-Man games that have featured the black suit like Web of Shadows and Shattered Dimensions. But moving on from Ryan's statements about the game's combat, we also received quite a few statements from Brian Intihar about delivering the ultimate superhero fantasy, where he describes that there's a reason the previous games open up with swinging right away. That's the ultimate fantasy. One of the things we set out to do from day one was honor the fact that being Spider-Man is such a fantasy for so many people. They say anybody can wear the mask, but we want anybody to wear the mask and be good at wearing the mask at the same time. The barrier of entry should be pretty low, not to mention that the ultimate fantasy wouldn't be complete without a heaping helping of spiffy new Spidey gadgets. The goal here is for players to tinker around with all the new gear and craft their own unique version of the Marvel hero. If you go back to the gameplay reveal that we did, the Miles section, where he's sneaking around the fish market, he creates a web line. Then he throws a new gadget out called the Web Grabber. It brings all the enemies together and smashes them together. And that sets him up to do a big lightning ground pound move that he does. That's that sandbox nature of taking all these toys and letting people try them out. We just want players to improvise with the experience, whether it's Ratchet & Clank, whether it's Resistance, and now Spider-Man. Which really tells me from a gamer's perspective is that Insomniac is truly trying to give the player as much freedom as possible in order to try and make their own Spider-Man experience feel like it's unique to them, which I think is an absolutely fantastic goal for Insomniac to strive towards. And speaking of Insomniac's goals, Ryan Smith goes on to bring up that making Insomniac's games more accessible meant embracing an iterative approach to features that can be gradually improved from one project to the next, instead of striving to get everything right the first time. One of the most powerful lessons for me, at least on the first Spider-Man, was that we didn't have to have the perfect version of accessibility features. They just had to open the door a bit more. As developers, we want it to be perfect, but you can't let that stop you from doing something that will get more people playing, which really shows just how much Insomniac cares about their fans by trying to make every single one of their games as accessible as possible. And based on all the accessibility features that we previously saw in Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered and Miles Morales, I definitely think that there's going to be a wide variety of options to choose from within Marvel's Spider-Man 2. And to cap off this article with a few statements that really puts into perspective just how incredible this partnership is between Insomniac Games and Marvel, is that Inverse states that making a game people love is about more than meticulous design. It's about telling a story players will carry with them long after putting down their controllers. Insomniac's Spider-Man games nimbly navigate a tricky balancing act between open-world freedom and compelling stories. That's the product of a deliberate effort to make every activity feel meaningful, no matter how small. And as Brian describes, is that one of our pillars for Spider-Man 2 was making sure there's a great narrative and payoff in anything we did. The more we can include a narrative that people can connect to, it takes away from the game feeling like a checklist. And speaking of checklists and all things bureaucratic, an outsider looking in might imagine that working with Marvel on a Spider-Man video game would present all sorts of logistical hurdles, forbidden plot points, and other restrictions. But Intihar says the relationship between Insomniac and Marvel is far more collaborative than you might expect. They're not just Marvel, they're friends. And that has really helped through the tougher times of trying to figure out a story moment or what we would want to do with a certain character. In the final stretch of Spider-Man 1, we were trying to figure out how to make the fight at the end even better. And someone had the idea of Pete creating a suit based on Otto's stuff. A lot of that came from our collaboration with Marvel, which not only shows just how great Insomniac are at making Spider-Man games, but also displaying just how friendly Marvel are as a collaborative gaming partner. And knowing that they're able to fully bounce around a plethora of different ideas amongst themselves, it really puts into perspective just how much Insomniac and Marvel have faith in one another. And if that's all for the service of trying to make the most definitive Spider-Man gaming experience possible, then I for one am all for it. And with all that said, everybody, that's the video I have for all you today, and please let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. What do you think of this Inverse article for Marvel's Spider-Man 2? And which aspect of the article interested you the most? Let me know what you think. Be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you did enjoy, and for more Marvel Spider-Man 2 content like this in the future. And definitely make sure to stay tuned tomorrow morning on Friday, September 15th at 8 AM Pacific Standard Time for my hands-on exclusive coverage of playing through Marvel's Spider-Man 2. But until then, everybody, thank you all so much for watching. Stay spectacular, Spidey fans, and peace out.